This is our month of sufficient grace. This is our month of sufficient grace. 2 Corinthians chapter 12 from verse 7 to 10. 2 Corinthians chapter 12 from verse 7 to 10. Let's read 1 to go. Unless I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. Next verse. For this thing I besought the Lord thrice, that he may depart from me. Next. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Verse 10, which is the last verse. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Please, I want you to pay attention to what I'm going to teach this evening. This is going to help you to understand certain things that are happening in your Christian walk. This month's teaching will be more of practical. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It's more of what? Practical. It will help you to understand certain things that are happening in your Christian walk. There are certain things that are happening to believers, and because they do not want to learn doctrine, and because they do not want to see the light of God's glorious gospel, they turn back and begin to blame pastors and the church, as if pastor and the church or brethren in the church are the major source of their problem. This evening, I want you to know that every man has a thorn in his flesh. Everyone has a thorn in his flesh. 2 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 7 says, unless I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelation, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. Being exalted above measure due to abundance of the revelation is the reason for Paul's thorn in the flesh. I want you to know that every man has thorn in his flesh. Everyone. Therefore, what is your own thorn in the flesh? And what will be the reason for it? What is your own thorn in the flesh? And what do you think is the reason for it? Listen to me. Your thorn in the flesh may be different from my own, but you still have thorn in the flesh. Your own thorn in the flesh might not be the same with your brother living with you in the same house, but at least you still have what? Thorn in the flesh. Your thorn in the flesh may be different from someone's thorn in the flesh, but the truth remains that everyone has a thorn in the flesh. A thorn in the flesh comes because there is something that God gave you in abundance that can make you to be exalted above measure. Please listen to me. A thorn in the flesh comes because there is something that God gave you in abundance that may cause you or make you to be exalted above measure. Look at me. Paul's thorn in the flesh came as a result of abundance of revelation. Yours might not be abundance of revelation. Yours might be abundance of favor. Another person's own might be abundance of cash, money. Another person's own might be abundance of beauty, physical beauty. You have the figure. You look beautiful. When people look at you, you almost close to an angel in terms of beauty. Another person's turn in the flesh might be abundance of skill, multi-talented. Do you understand me? Paul's own was abundance of revelation. Your own might be abundance of skill. And that necessitates the thorn in the flesh. That made the thorn in the flesh to be there. Thorn in the flesh comes because there is something that God gave you in abundance, that if it is not checked, you will exalt yourself above measure. So the thorn comes to put you in check. Listen to me. Thorn in the flesh comes because there is something that God gave you in abundance that can make you to be exalted above measure. So the purpose of the thorn in the flesh is to make you know that you are still human. Despite the abundance of revelation or abundance of something that God have given to you, that you are still what? Human. The thorn in the flesh is to remind you that you are a human being, you are not God. Especially for those of us that are gifted, highly gifted. Your gift is next to perfection or almost perfection. There are tendencies that pride will enter you and you begin to think you are better than any human being. Therefore, the thorn in the flesh is to keep you humble. Did you hear what I said? It's to keep you what? Humble. Second reason why God allowed thorn in the flesh. Please listen to me. A thorn in the flesh comes because there is something that God gave you in abundance that the enemy is afraid of. There's something that God gave you in abundance that the enemy is afraid of. For example, the case of the children of Israel in Egypt. Exodus chapter 1 verse 7 to 12. You will see it. There are certain trouble that will come. It's not because you are living in sin. It's because of abundance of God's grace. Abundance of gift of grace in your life. Listen, enemy does not attack an empty container. You didn't hear what I'm saying? When you see a child being troubled the most, know that there is something in that child. On Sunday I will be teaching with so much pictures. When you see somebody go too much trouble, go through too much of trouble at a particular stage in his or her life, know that at that moment there is something that is in that person that the enemy is afraid of. You are wondering, why am I going through what I'm going through? Sorry, look around. Count your blessings. Oh Lord, why am I going through this? What of my friends? Look at them, they are having it all. Who told you? Have you examined their life? Check your life. You find that there are things you have in abundance they don't have. Let's read. And the children of Israel were fruitful, increased abundantly. Are you seeing it? And multiplied, and was exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Next verse. Wahala don't come. Now there rose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. Next verse. And he said unto his people, behold, Unafla, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when they falleth out us any war, they join also our enemies and fight against us. So they get them up out of the land. Next. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities at Pithom and Ramas. Please, everybody, look at me. Why did this king afflict the children of Israel? Why? Go to verse 7. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiply and wax exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now go to verse 10. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. Did you see it? Why is he dealing wisely with them? He was afraid of their population. He was afraid of their increase. Let me tell you, most times that the devil is attacking you because he's afraid of the abundance of the gift of grace upon your life. If it's because of sin, everybody should be going through the same thing, because all have sinned. Your problem is peculiar to you because of the peculiarity of the manifestation and the expression of God's gift upon your life in abundance. Every one of us that is seated here this evening, there's something God have given to you in abundance that others don't have in abundance. It might not be abundance of money. It might be abundance of good voice. Have you noticed that some people, when they are talking, it looks as if they are singing? Please come. I'm stressing myself to do this, but some people, that's their natural voice. Some people, when they are talking, it looks as if there's Twitter in their voice. Why some persons, when they open their mouth, it looks as if caterpillar is coming. What is the meaning of that? You know, most times we will say, what do I have? I have nothing. There's nothing I have. We say it, I don't have anything. No. Are you aware that the children of Israel were not the one that said that they have increased? It was the enemy that saw them. Are you aware that the enemy you are afraid of is already afraid of you? Are you aware? That what you are afraid of is afraid of you. Ladies and gentlemen, can I announce to you that affliction is the key to multiplication? Now read verse 13 for me. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. Next verse. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in bricks, and in all manner of service in the field. And all their services wherein they made them serve was with rigor. Next verse. And the king of Israel spake to the Hebrew midwife, of which the name of one of them was Sapphira, and the name of the other Beulah. Next. He said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, see them upon the stool. If it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live, so that she will become wife to them. If it is a man, so that they cannot reproduce. Are you seeing how the enemy decide to deal with them wisely? Next verse. And the midwife feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded, but saved the men, children alive. Next. Now go to verse 12. Go to verse 12. Go to verse 12. Now everybody read. 1 to go. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiply and grew. So affliction is key to multiplication. There are things you wouldn't have known if it is not because of what you went through. Affliction is not bad. Affliction is key to multiplication. There are things that wouldn't have increased in your life if you didn't go through certain things. That's why David said, it was good that I was afflicted. There is good in hardship. There is good in affliction. Okay. Please listen to me, friends. Every kind of abundance comes with a thorn in the flesh, so that we will not be exalted above measure. Did you hear what I said? Every kind of abundance of beauty, abundance of money, abundance of intelligence. There are people, they are too smart. Naturally, they are too smart. If he asks in this hall, 70 plus 70 plus 70 minus 30 plus 3. There are some persons, they have to write it down. Some persons, as you are saying it, as you are saying, what is the answer? They give you the answer. Their brain is wired for it. They didn't pray to get that intelligence. It's called the gift of grace. It's not because they are more spiritual than others. But also observe that there are some areas they are not good at. Because you have it abundantly in this area. In another area, you are attacked more. Somebody say life, no balance. I say life, balance. I ain't no stand well. You know, gallant. Please listen to me, everybody. Listen to me. There's an abundance of something that God has given to you that you didn't pray for. You didn't ask for. You didn't struggle for. And the enemy is aware. And that's why the enemy comes to attack you as a thorn in the flesh. You are only looking at the thorn, but you are not looking at the abundance. And that's what the enemy have succeeded in doing with some people. The enemy just make you to be a secretary, to record all your problems. All you are seeing is all your problems. I don't have a car. I'm still living in one house. I'm still squatting. I don't have a shoe. It's one cloth that I'm repeating. But that same enemy will not allow you to see the abundance of things you have. Are you aware that there are families? If you ask some women in this hall to tell you how they gave birth, you will discover that some to even conceive was wahala. 10, 15 years they didn't conceive. Your own, you just wave. Your wife is pregnant. In fact, if you want to have 200, are you aware that there are people, they never wrote any application anywhere, but they are working? They have a job. I have a friend, the job that he's doing today that is paying well, he didn't write the application. Somebody was calling him that there's a job opportunity. His phone was switched off. The person took his hand, wrote application on his behalf. Look for picture, they didn't see picture. The picture they snapped together, he cut it and formed passport and gone and sent. He said, I want myself and my friend to work in the same office. They took his friend and left him. It's called gift of grace, the election of God. Now imagine that same person now only counting all the trouble that is in his life and forgot about the abundance of God's blessing. Paul said that the thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan sent to buffet him, was because of the abundance of revelation. Okay, hear me. What you are going through is because of the abundance of the gift of grace upon your life. Some of you, if you just sit down like this in any place, guys will be parking their cars. There are some girls, they don't pay transport. From January till now, they've never paid transport. Because if they just wake up like this in the morning, let me free ride, They are walking on the street, free ride. Cars are in abundance. Driver, free driver. When you close, can I come and pick you? Please let me come and pick you. Not like the other day I came to your office, you were not there. But imagine the same person will now sit down and begin to